So when this concrete starts going away, what ends up happening is the steel rebar basically has nothing to support it anymore, so that it becomes ineffective. So when they do that load rating, that first stirrup that you can see there basically doesn't count. And then they say, all right, well, the next one in, it's encased and maybe it's 90% concrete, so that one's still effective. So then when they run the math, they see if this pier can still withhold the loading. So under all circumstances, I think except for anything over 105,500 pounds, it still meets the factor of safety that you can keep the bridge open without load rating it. That was last year's report. They did that report, I think, the study back in July. We got it in August. KLJ, when they started doing the design in January for this pier repair, they came up, they inspected this same pier, and it got worse in that 6-month time since the original study. DOT then came this spring in May and inspected the entire bridge for the biennial report, and this pier has gotten worse since. So that's why they did a critical finding, because they basically said, well, if you don't do anything with this bridge, this thing's going to keep deteriorating to a point where that bearing, you can kind of see it underneath there. It's probably so this piece of steel right here is called a bearing. And basically what it does, it sits on a plate, and as that bridge moves back and forth with hot and cold, contraction, expansion, it sits there and it just rocks, okay? And that's also where all the load from that girder comes and then transfers to that column. So if that bearing pad underneath there is undermined, then that load can't transfer right, and then the beam won't move anymore, they lock up. So if you look at this one, that bearing plate is basically sitting on nothing anymore. Okay, so we're going to replace this bearing. We weren't planning on doing that until KLJ did their re-inspection. So then we added that to the project. To try to shorten up the time frame to get that project built this year, we pre-procured that bearing. So we already bought it. It's being made right now in Nevada. It'll be shipped to Minot, and then we'll give it to the contractor. That saved about 8 weeks' time. So to replace that bearing, that one over there is still okay. This pier here, Pier 4, this has gotten worse since I took pictures earlier this year. That concrete's starting to spall away. Pier 5 is starting to have some of the same problems. That's the next one over on the other side of the river. And then there's also some, I don't know if it's on this one. I don't think it's this span, but what's happening is so the concrete deck sits on those girders, and then that load's transferred down to the piers. There's a few of these beams that are no longer in contact with the deck, meaning that they're not transferring any load to the beam, and so it's being transferred somewhere else. So it wasn't designed to take on two, just the load area of that one area. So that's got to be repaired. So I think probably the best way to describe what's happening here, it's like grandma has cancer. We're trying to get this real bad cancer spot, but it's also spreading to the rest of the body. And we're getting close to the point where there's not much else we can do. I think once we get this repair made, hopefully we can get load council.
How long are they talking that that'll take?
I haven't got the contractor's schedule yet, but it'll probably be a couple months. So I would say sometime end of September or sometime in October. We'll probably need to engage maybe with KLA to take a look at that report and at least come up with some preliminary suggestions or options. What critical repairs, other ones need to be done so that we can try to keep this thing shored up.
Just down, might as well fix what you can. Right?
Well, talked before, there's a point somewhere of diminishing. You know, if we wanted to fix everything on this, probably $20 million or plus.
And what's the point if we're going to have
Going to replace it in
years,
a short time anyway.
Yeah. So, you know, these bridges don't last forever. We know all infrastructure eventually falls apart. So we're kind of in that spot where we got to figure out what we want to do. So more information, but that's essentially what's going on here. Is we got to get this pier here.
What do you guys think?
We bid it $130 some thousand. We had budgeted, or we estimated about $219, so it came in under the estimate.
Until they dig into it, right?
Well, you know, based on estimated quantities, and so we bid these pier repairs. Usually, it's by the square. So if we had to go more, then you just get more quantity. 2010, the city did. It was about $1 million project, and they came some of these repairs just like.
Okay.
So it's been done a few times since this bridge was built. The last major reconstruction work on it was done in '85.
That's like 100 years old.
88.
88 years
1936.
old. Had a lot of birthdays.